Here's the terrifying theory of stupidity that you were never meant to hear. You know, we like to think of ourselves as intelligent, right? We go to school, we learn things, we get good grades, we feel pretty smart. But there's this guy named Dietrich Bonhoeffer who had a different theory about stupidity, and it's kind of terrifying. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a German theologian and pastor who lived from 1906 to 1945, and he is known for his book called Ethics, which lays out his ideas about what it means to be human. Now, in this book, Bonhoeffer talks about four types of people: the fanatic, the cynic, the activist, and the contemplative. And each of these represent a different way of responding to the world around us. The fanatic is someone who has an absolute certainty about their beliefs and is willing to do anything to defend them. The cynic is someone who rejects all beliefs and values and just goes with whatever the flow. The activist is someone who's focused on changing the world and making a difference. And the contemplative is someone who's more focused on understanding the world and how it works. So far, so good. You might be thinking, who doesn't want to be the activist, right? Like we wanna be the ones making a positive impact on the world. But according to Bonhoeffer, the truly stupid person is actually the one who thinks they're being the activist. He says that the activist is actually just another form of escapism, right? Because they're so focused on what they want to do, they don't actually take the time to understand the world and how it works. They just try to change it in some way, which often ends up making things worse. In other words, the activist is stupid because they're not actually solving the problems, they're just treating the symptoms. So then, who does that leave? Well, the contemplative, right? Like that's the one that's left over. But Bonhoeffer says that the contemplative is actually the only one who's truly wise. It is the one who understands the world and how it works, and who can see the different ways that people respond to it. It is kind of like the difference between just reading a book and actually watching a movie based on that book. Like, yeah, you can read a summary of the plot and like who the main characters are and stuff like that. But if you actually watch the movie, you experience the story in a whole new way. You see how the characters interact with each other and how the plot unfolds, and how all of that affects the world around them. That's what the contemplative does. They take the time to really understand the world and how it works. And in doing so, they become the only ones who can truly make a difference. But here's where it gets really interesting. Bonhoeffer also says that the contemplative is actually the one who is most likely to end up becoming the fanatic or the cynic. Why? Because they have the ability to understand the world so deeply that they can start to believe that they own it, right? Like, if you're the only one who truly understands something, then it must be really important, and you must be the one who's right. And so the contemplative can easily fall into the trap of fanaticism if they're not careful. Or on the other hand, they can also become the cynic. Because if you see how complex and messed up the world is, then it can be really easy to just give up on it, right? Like, if you really understand how things work, then you know how difficult it is to change them. And so the contemplative can easily fall into the trap of cynicism if they're not careful. So, basically, according to Bonhoeffer, the truly stupid person is the one who thinks they making a difference in the world but actually aren't. The wise person is the one who understands the complexity of the world and their place in it, but also remains open to learning and changing. And that's the terrifying theory of stupidity that you were never meant to hear.